What's going on, everyone? So Lakers roster goes without saying, extremely deep, extremely big, extremely versatile, extremely talented, right? You can run so many different sets. You can go big with Jackson Hayes and Anthony Davis. You can go super big and play like LeBron at the point and have Jackson Hayes and Anthony Davis with like Rui and Vando. I mean, there's just so many different possibilities, different options. You got great guard play, got everything you need. You got a deep enough team, deep enough talent to go win an NBA championship. Now, with that comes Darvin Ham having a tough decision on who gets minutes and what spots and what rotation and, what guys get DMPs some nights, what guys get 10 minutes some nights, what guys get 30 some nights, right? Like, there are a lot of things that they're going to have to figure out through training camp. You're going to have to figure out through just the course of the season, mixing and matching lineups and stuff, right? Got the reports that the Lakers are even considering about starting Jackson Hayes at sometimes, right? Like, I'm pretty confident the main starters will be like D'Lo, Reeves, Vando, LeBron, and AD, but I could see some nights maybe Gabe Vincent starting. Some nights, Jackson Hayes starts along AD. Some nights, maybe you go Rui as a starter, or, you go like maybe even like Rui and Gabe Vincent as a starter, right? You got that versatility. But with that, there's going to be guys that are the odd man out, right? Like Max Christie. Is Max Christie going to get an opportunity? Does he actually end up playing? The Lakers, they look at him as a potential, eighth, ninth guy on the roster that he could kind of fill in that role as a shooting guard and kind of be a two-way player. You also have Cam Reddish that could do the same thing. One of those two is very likely going to be the odd man out. So the other thing is that would mean the young rookies are probably the odd man out. Now, the question that I want to pose, and I want to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below, is how much opportunity do they get, if any, this upcoming season? Like, obviously, you could throw them out there in garbage time and just let them play the last 5 minutes or whatever when you're up 30 in a game or something, right? Sure. But that's not really real opportunity, right? Because they're not going up against a team that's trying to win a game or trying to, stay within striking range. It's just a completely different environment. And so, more likely than not, they're probably going to be like how Max Christie was last year, where, he played a couple games here and there. He had some moments here and there. I don't think they play as much as Max, because Max Christie played 41 games and he started a handful of games, but that was due to it was a different team, injuries, stuff like that. We were small, right? This roster, even if 3 guys are out on any given night due to injury, you still don't need to play Maxwell Lewis or Schifino, unless it's like D'Lo and Gabe Vincent. Then it's like, okay, well, maybe we do need to play Schifino. But the only way I really see them getting opportunity, I think Schifino has more chance at an opportunity than Maxwell Lewis does, just because if the Lakers do trade D'Lo, you could make the argument to kind of fill in Schifino for 10 minutes a game or whatever. But in the same breath, the Lakers want to make Austin Reeves the point guard. They want to allow him to have more opportunities in that role. And if they were to trade D'Lo, then very likely you would have Austin Reeves, play the point guard, and then you would have Gabe Vincent still be the backup. So Schifino probably wouldn't get minutes. But he is 6'6", so does he play the 2 guard? Or does maybe even Maxwell Lewis? What if Maxwell Lewis, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, right? He has the ability to be a legit 2-way player. What if he's killing it in preseason, or not preseason, training camp, right? What if he is doing really good? Because you can make an argument the 2 spot could be up for grabs, or the backup 2 spot could be up for grabs, right? You have Max Christie, you have Cam Reddish. Now, you do have other guys, right? You could always play D'Lo at the 2. You could run Reeves, obviously, at the 2. Gabe Vincent. You have Taurean Prince. You could slide over if you needed to. Like I said, Cam Reddish. But if Maxwell Lewis is killing it and is able to shoot efficiently and can be a defensive player and use his size, use his athleticism, use his quickness, maybe there is room for him at the 2 spot. Same thing with Schifino, right? Because the beauty of Schifino is he has the size to play either guard spot. He's got the size, the length to be a legit two-way guy at the 2 guard or the point guard. Problem is Schifino doesn't really have a 3-point shot, which is what you would need. But you saw his 3-point shot kind of come around towards the end of Summer League. And he's probably going to be working with Phil Handy, right? Like, he doesn't have to be super efficient, but if he could just be around average, could he get 10 minutes a game? Same thing with Maxwell Lewis. Like, what if Maxwell Lewis is like 38%? Right? And it's like, he's 6'7", got great athleticism, great size, shoot the ball, right? Like, you can make an argument for him at the 2 guard spot. Now, I think Christie is going to be the guy, but, could you see these two on any given night maybe getting some quality minutes? I think more likely than not, they're G League guys this year, even if they are really good, right? Like, let's say they are busting people up in training camp and stuff like that, right? Maybe they play 20 minutes a game in preseason because it's preseason, right? And you're not playing the starters heavy minutes. You're just playing them, whatever. You're playing them like 10 minutes a game or whatever, or the first half or whatever, right? Like, I could see something like that, and then these two just absolutely killing it. And even then, they still probably wouldn't get minutes just because, again, this Lakers roster is just so deep, so talented. They got so much size. Like, it would be hard to get there. But I also don't hate the idea of running like a young ball unit, right? It's an 82-game season, especially early on. It's an 82-game season. You want to keep guys as healthy as possible. You want to keep minutes down. You want guys as healthy as possible come the playoffs. Like, if you're playing like a Detroit or like a Spurs, like, I wouldn't do this against like Milwaukee or Boston or anything like that. But like, if you're playing Detroit, what's wrong with throwing like a unit out there for like 7 minutes or whatever, or 10 minutes of like Schifino, Christie, Lewis, Reddish, and Hayes? Like, throw all the young guys out there, right? Like, what's wrong with that? And just tell them, like, just run and gun. Run and gun. If it starts getting bad, right? Like, let's say, you throw that unit out there and we have like a 10-point lead and it immediately drops to 5, right? All right, well then throw in a Reeves or something like that, right? And see how that goes, right? How that looks. But I don't think it would make or break it either way if you threw those guys out there on any given night for 7 to 10 minutes, right? And just say like, hey, Schifino, use your size, use your quickness, let's push the pace, right? Put Cam Reddish, who can run and jump through the gym, Maxwell Lewis, who can run and jump through the gym, Jackson Hayes, Max Christie, right? I actually really like that idea of just throwing them out there. Again, you're not doing that every single night. You're not doing that heavily, but against like a quarter of the teams in the league, I think you could. And that would be great because it would give not only Cam Reddish, Max Christie, Jackson Hayes, Schifino, Lewis, basically all the young guys, not only would it give them real opportunity, real minutes, real experience, right? Kind of give you a look at like, how do these guys look without the starters, right? Because you also got to think, some of these guys are like, are we keeping Jackson Hayes beyond this year? Are we keeping, like, if some trade comes up, are we looking to trade any of our young guys, right? Like, there's so many things that go into like the course of the season where you want to see things like these guys are supposed to be our future. Why wouldn't you want to get some nice looks at them, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to get some nice looks at Max Christie, Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes, like without LeBron James on the court, right? Because it's like in a year or two, those guys are going to be on the court without LeBron James. So it's like, why not see what some of those looks look like? See who stands out. See who's able to play right now. Because it would also be good just to see, just in case. And like, it's not like, that's not uncommon. Like, Greg Popovich does stuff like that. Steve Kerr is like famous for doing stuff like that. And Steve Kerr, even in an interview, was like, how can I expect guys to stay ready if they never play? Right? Like, How can I, like, everybody should play at some point over the course of the season. Like, I don't mind that. Again, I wouldn't against Milwaukee, or you're playing Denver opening night and it's like, well, let's throw out, Schifino, Lewis, Christie, Hayes, and Reddish. Like, let's throw those guys out there. Like, everyone basically 23 and under. Like, let's throw them out there and let them go to work. Like, no, I wouldn't do that. But again, like, if you're playing some of these lesser teams, or you're playing some of these young run and gun teams, right? Like, I think you could even do that if, like, Houston has, like, their youthful lineup out there, right? Maybe you could even do it against, like, OKC, right? Because they're a young team. Like, I do think that there are several teams in which you could kind of make that argument of, like, just getting a look at it. Let's see what it looks like. Because they can all play defense. They all have athleticism. They're all young, right? Give them some quality minutes. I would like to see what does Schifino look like? What does Lewis look like? Are they ready now? Are they like, do they look like they're 2 or 3 years away? Or do they look like guys like, man, like, if we didn't have this deep roster, these are guys that would probably play heavy minutes, right? Like, and I just think that you need to get these guys experience, because LeBron and the changing of the guards is going to be here sooner than we think. Obviously, we want to win an NBA championship. You're not doing this in the playoffs. But it's an 82-game season. There's a lot of games that need to be played. A lot of things that are going to happen over the course of an 82-game season. Why wouldn't you want to keep guys as fresh as possible and give other guys nice quality looks? I like the idea of just having some experiments. The Lakers have already talked about wanting to do that, and very likely are going to do that. And if you're going to do it, you do it early on, right? Because once you get past, like, the trade deadline and everything like that, that's when things start tightening up. That's when you're making your push for seeding. That's when you're kind of trying to hash out, like, who are your 8 to 9-man rotation come playoff time. That's when you're really starting to lock things down and put yourself in a position to make a play for an NBA championship, right? And just a deep playoff run and all that. But early on, try some different looks. Try some different sets. Like, what does Maxwell Lewis look like at the 2? What does he look like at the 3? Right? What does he look like with the starters? What does he look like with the main bench core? Right? Like, Schifino, what does he look like with, because the Lakers like to run and gun, right? They were top 3 in the league last year in pace and points off, points in transition and points off turnover, all that stuff. Like, well, Schifino could provide a lot of that. Pushing the pace, being a run and gun guard, go coast to coast, make play. Like, what does that look like? I think that they should. I think that they should get some opportunity. But those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comments below. What do you think? Agree with me? Disagree with me? Somewhere between? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments.